Hello everyone, welcome to Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. For today's Avatar video, we are going to be talking about the future of the next Avatar series because, quite literally, it is very futuristic. If the rumors are true and the setting of the next series is meant to be of a more sci-fi-like world, then we have a lot to discuss for the possibilities that that could bring. Questions arise like, what does that mean for the Avatar, and what could that mean for the bending of the elements? We are going to run through all that in this discussion. As I say every time, sit back, relax, and enjoy some jasmine tea as we run through this video. So what inspired me to make this video was actually a good friend of mine, one of the biggest Avatar YouTube channels out there in the Avatarist. His most recent video has a similar conversation about the future of the next Avatar series, and when he brought up the rumor of it being set in a cyberpunk-like sci-fi setting, it inspired me to make a video discussing what that could mean for what we could see happen. I had not known that information before seeing his new video, and so I think it inspires a really interesting conversation here within this video that I want to have with you all. I'm going to play a few snippets from his video so you can get an idea as to what we might talk about, so take a listen.
As of right now, recording this video, the next Avatar series, setting, plot, timeline, everything has not been officially confirmed. We have rumors and pretty strong evidence that it exists, but nothing is confirmed. As of right now, we know that the next Avatar is going to be born in a cyberpunk world, most likely over 100 years from the events of The Legend of Korra. We saw in The Legend of Korra the leaps and bounds Republic City was making in technology, but most of the Earth Kingdom and other nations weren't really making that same progress. This leads me to believe that the next Avatar is not going to be born directly in the Earth Kingdom, whether it be Omashu, Ba Sing Se, or a random village. It's just not happening. With the setting being a cyberpunk city, that pretty much leaves us in Republic City once again for another series.
So as you hear the Avatarist say, this is not officially confirmed, but only based on rumors that the next Avatar series will be set in a cyberpunk-like world far in the future, almost 100 years after The Legend of Korra. All this other information with regards to it taking place in Republic City and whatnot, we'll talk about in a minute, but I first want to discuss the whole notion of the actual setting itself for the series. I am someone who is a passionate lover of the science fiction and fantasy genres with regards to many different things that I've seen in entertainment. Some of my favorite all-time movies, shows, and video games take place in those genres, and so when I see that this could be the setting of a new Avatar show where they now mix in sci-fi elements, you'd think that I'd be super excited about that. And you're right. However, there is some hesitancy that I have towards that kind of setting in that world that I want to have a conversation about and maybe see some good arguments from you, the fans, about why you'd love to see it or maybe not. Let's start off by talking about the hesitancies that I have first. So something that I think most people out there agree on is that when you are crafting a world, you have to be able to make sure that the setting is consistent with the rest of its various aspects of atmosphere, characters, and so on. My worry with this idea of a futuristic cyberpunk setting is that it becomes so sci-fi that it loses the touch that, say, the original Last Airbender series kept in line as a more fantasy-like show. Not to be on the nose here, but let's take a look at an example of that by looking at a video game in Cyberpunk 2077. Let's hypothetically say that that was the kind of setting and look this new series would be going for. Does that make it look too out of line for what we know Avatar to be like when looking at past examples? For me, to now use myself as an example, the first time I saw Legend of Korra, I would be lying if I didn't say that the new world of that series, with how much it progressed in technology and innovation, did at points take me out of the show. I was able to get used to it eventually over time, but that first watch of the show was weird, knowing it wasn't too similar to what I knew from The Last Airbender. I obviously know that over time, things will change in a world with how it progresses, but seeing things like 1950s style cars, World War I looking airplanes and warships, and then even something as crazy as the giant Colossus megarobot in the final season was a lot to take in. My other worry with this kind of setting is sort of similar to the first worry, but a little bit more expanded on, and that is the worry that this new setting will make the show look like so many other things that we've seen before without distinguishing itself as Avatar. I just used the example of Cyberpunk 2077, but there are also so many other futuristic shows, games, and movies that have the same kind of futuristic futuristic feeling that if Avatar ventured into, that then it would really make it feel not like Avatar anymore. At the same time, how does that affect the characters, and especially the main core aspect of this world, which is the bending of the 4 elements? How different does a more sci-fi looking Avatar world change the way bending works? This is actually a good segue into talking about my hopes and wants for something like this setting, and it starts with talking about the bending. Yes, there can be some hesitancy there too on this topic of conversation, but knowing how well bending has been handled in other Avatar properties, the possibilities of what a cyberpunk-like setting can bring to bending are endless and very cool in theory. For one, the potential for the action in this kind of world could be sick as hell, only if done right. If it incorporates some sci-fi elements without going too extreme, then I think that could wind up giving us some of the best action this franchise has ever seen. Now, admittedly, the second I see something like a gun get pulled out and used, I think that might be something that I'm not a fan of, and it would pull me out so hard. I think the best way you could go about it is to uniquely factor in the bending itself first when trying to come up with new ideas for how to do action. Something Legend of Korra did uniquely is that it made a competition out of it with the whole pro bending tournament scene. Now, it doesn't have to go that specific to where it gets turned into a sport, but use that example as a base to what you could do for another idea. Another area this setting could be really cool for still relates to bending, but now with non-action bending. Obviously, to use an example here, everyone knows that one of the many abilities that some waterbenders are able to learn and master is healing. We've seen this many times before, with a character like Katara and the female waterbenders of the Northern Water Tribe, who learned to master it over time in The Last Airbender. In a more futuristic setting, what could something like that look like exactly? How would the bending be used for so many other tasks in areas of life? Would technology take over so much that bending becomes useless? What if a cyberpunk future in an Avatar world gives way to benders being outlawed because their bending actually makes them more dangerous given the technology at hand? There are so many questions that could come out with this stuff that could leave for some interesting storytelling, especially when you consider how this also relates to the Avatar. That's another area I'd be interested in, given the Avatar is the most important aspect of this franchise. As the Avatarist says in his video, Korra is now the first Avatar because the past life cycle connection got destroyed in her time as Avatar. He also believes that given the nature of the cyberpunk world, the Avatar might not even be born in his or her nation of which one is next, which would be the Earth Kingdom. That new Avatar could be born in a place like Republic City, which we could see where we spend the most time, given where the Legend of Korra established is the most central place in the new world of that time. I want to say almost 80% of Legend of Korra is spent in that city, as opposed to many other diverse places that The Last Airbender took us through. Preferably speaking, I would hope that the next series does take us to a bunch of different places instead of sticking in one central location, but I don't see that as a worry because I have a feeling that they might move us around a lot more, but maybe that's just my wishful thinking. But to get back to the Avatar, again, there are many questions that could happen here. Is technology in a more cyberpunk world going to let the Avatar become as powerful as he or she usually is? Will technology influence how something like the Avatar state works to where maybe it becomes nullified because it's no longer the Avatar's most powerful asset? Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that I think story-wise, there is much more to be hopeful for with this new series given the setting of a more cyberpunk world. It seems that my worries stem more from the atmospheric aspect of the world of Avatar as opposed to my hopes and wants, which stem more from the storytelling, world building, and the entertainment value of the action. I think that's really all I have to say given the information that we have available. So as we end off this video, everyone, please comment down below your thoughts on this video topic and my commentary of it. I think it is a big conversation that I want to have with regards to where this franchise can go, and I'll be very curious to see if you agree with my worries and my wants, and if you have anything to add into that conversation that I didn't discuss. If you did enjoy the video and you want to see more like it, be sure to drop it a like, and if you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell to be updated for when I post again. My fellow benders of all 4 nations, thank you all for stopping by Uncle Iroh's tea shop. On your way out, be sure to let him know how much you appreciated his jasmine tea and his words of wisdom that come with it. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for more Avatar.